flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on to the agenda. The first item on tonight is the continuation of the public hearing for 15 Park Avenue. I received a phone call from Dan Margata that he didn't think he was going to make it tonight because he had some problems going on, and that if he was able to make it, he was going to be late. So before the meeting, we spoke to Mr. Meyer, let him know that. So, Mr. Meyer, you want to come up and let's discuss how the applicant wants to proceed?
Chairman, I have been able to discuss with my client ramifications of not having a full board related to his voting, which we would hope that would be after today's presentation. And so we're asking for, we'll actually sit down and be called second out of order, Your Honor. If the other board member does not appear at that time, we're asking for an adjournment to the next meeting.
Okay, all right, so then we'll take you out of order and cross our fingers and hope that he gets here a little late, but in time for your application, and then we'll see what happens when we get to you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for that, and you know, it's something that we don't have in our control, but
Only the courtesy you've extended, I always appreciate it.
thank you, thank you. What's that? My mic? Sorry. All right, then the next item on the agenda is the application of 123, 125 Elm Street for variances from the table of district and use and bulk regulations for a GB zoning district to permit auto sales and repair shop with offices which will have less than the minimum lot area of 40,000 square feet, 39,518 is proposed. Less than the minimum front setback of 50 feet, 11.2 feet is proposed, and less than the minimum rear setback of 25 feet, 4.9 feet is proposed. The applicant also seeks variances from section 251N for less than the minimum setback of 200 feet to a public recreation area, 0 feet is proposed to the Heritage Trail, and 90 plus minus feet to Crane Park, and from section 200-64A and B to increase the non-conforming use. I'm not clear on that one. And from 200-51-0 to permit more than 5 vehicles to be stored outside for more than 48 hours. And from 200-51I to permit the storage of vehicles within a required yard. The property is located in the GB zoning district, is identified as section 207, block 1, lots 2 and 3 on the tax map, and is known as 123, 125 Elm Street. The applicant or his representative ready?
So, Chair, just a note on that one that you had questioned, the 264A and B. So that was a variance to increase the degree of nonconformity.
Okay.
So since they're doing the lateral expansion and upward expansion of the nonconforming front yard setback building.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Okay, that's what was missing, the degree of nonconformity. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Zoning Board of Appeals members. My name is Michael Morgante. I'm the engineer representing this application before the board. The chairman did a good job overall of listing what the variances are that we were seeking. I'll give you a little history to the project.
Wait, one thing, I'm sorry, Mr. Morgante, before we get into this, the public hearing notices. So we did receive your certified mail receipts, but I think we pointed out, mailings are supposed to be done regular mail, not certified mail. But aside from that fact, there were some properties that did not receive the notice. Oh, you do have them. Okay. Okay, so we were missing the one from Clifford, and we now have that, and we're missing one from the County of Orange. We now have that. But there's Ephraim Goldberger and Sarah Goldberger that there are no receipts for.
They happen to be the applicant.
They are the applicant? Yeah, because I see it's the same address, so. Okay. Then then we do have all the mailings unless, the board wants to take issue with the fact that they were sent by certified mail instead of regular mail. So, my feeling is, I like them go regular mail because the certified mail, if the person's not home, they don't get the notice, right? So they have to go to the post office, and if they work all week, they can't get to the post office. They don't get the notice. It's become a problem, and that's why we changed our mailing procedure to regular mail, because regular mail, you presume it's going to be delivered after so many days, if it's not returned. But, we have made this exception for other applications, so I just want to bring it to the board's attention and see if everybody's okay with the mailing. It was posted in the paper. It was advertised.
Yeah, that doesn't concern me.
No
Okay.
objection.
All right, so with that being said, then we'll go ahead, and I just wanted to make sure we had the notices properly done. So,
Sure.
Mr. Morgante, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Sure. I wasn't the original engineer on the project. I ended up taking this project over later on. But my understanding is that this project has been before the ZBA before. I did not represent it at that time. I know that the ZBA at that time had a discussion with the applicant to go back to the planning board, consider combining both lots to reduce the lot area nonconformity, and to work through the site plan approval process with the planning board to obtain a negative declaration, hold a public hearing, get a negative declaration, and at that point, return back to this board to continue the pursuit of the variances that the chairman noted earlier, which we've done. We've had a duly noticed public hearing with the village planning board. We closed that public hearing. That planning board provided us with a negative declaration. We have provided that documentation to this board, and here we are back before this board to resume the pursuit of those particular variances. It's worth noting that the project's in the GB zone. This is a special permit use in the GB zone. The planning board did take a very, very thorough look at this project. You can take a look at the plans. There are definitely notes and conditions associated with the project that the planning board thought were warranted in order to provide us with a negative declaration. We've been before the planning board for well over 6 months reviewing this project, so they took a good hard look at this, is what I'm getting at, before we came back to this board. We've even received a 239 GML review from Orange County Planning. Their ultimate response was it's a local determination. A lot of the same comments that the Orange County Planning had, the planning board themselves had as well during the planning process. We are seeking seven variances, 4 of which technically are pre-existing non-conforming variances, and I'll go through what those are in a second. They're lot area, and we've reduced those to we've reduced the lot area variance that we're seeking by doing a lot line removal and combining both lots.
So let's stay with the lot area for a second,
Sure.
if you don't mind.
Sure.
So you're combining 2 lots. What, that lot across the street, is that part of this bulk?
So that's not part of the bulk. That lot across the street is solely for the purposes of overflow employee parking. We were able to configure parking on the site that we pretty much have just about everything we need, but there's a little bit extra that we couldn't provide on the site. So we worked with the Frontier owners, the owners of that property, which are Frontier Communications. We have a 99-year lease or something like that with them.
So you don't own the...
We don't own the property, and it's solely for employee overflow parking. That's all it's for. Quite frankly, we can make the site work essentially without the use of that lot. But we've, as an abundance of caution and a belt and suspenders approach, have engaged in a lease with Frontier Communications for overflow parking for that particular property.
Okay. All right, so let's stay in the lot area. You're supposed to have 40,000?
Correct.
And by combining these 2 lots into one lot, you got yourself up to 39...
518.
518. Okay. All right, let's go to the next one.
Sure. So, do you want to go through the variances one by one? I can.
Yeah, I would.
So that's fine.
I want to get a handle. And It's been a while since you
Sure.
guys were before us, and let's get caught up. And
So according to my letter, we'll go with number 1. We just did number 2, which was lot area, or I should say my narrative. Number 1 is zoning code section 200-51N. It's a motor vehicle shop located within 200 feet of a recreation area. This is one of those pre-existing non-conforming conditions. This has been an automotive repair shop for quite some time. We've always had the same distance or lack of from the recreation area noted as Crane Park and Orange County Heritage Trail that's behind us. So we're formalizing the requirement of needing a variance from 200-51N.
Were both parcels used as the repair shop, or is it just the one?
I believe, yes, even the additional property was ancillary to the auto repair shop. They were storing cars there. There's a garage over there as well. So I believe so. Then we're looking for a front yard setback reduction from 50 feet to 11.2 feet. And I would note that this is for actually the pre-existing office that's on the parcel to the left. So that existing office is the one that is actually 11.2 feet from, as a front yard measurement, and a reduction from 50 feet. The proposed building, if I'm not mistaken, is about, I don't have the maps in front of me. I thought you would actually bring it up on.
technical difficulties.
You can double check for me. I think it's 18.9 feet.
So it's 50 feet.
Actually,
18
I have the plans right here in front of me electronically. Let me double check.
18.8, I believe.
I'm looking. It's
18.9.
18.9.
Yeah, 18.9. I
To
was
the
right.
corner of the new addition,
Correct.
and the existing
The
is 29.3.
Nope. If you look to the left, you'll see on 125 a one-story framed office. Go towards the left side of the page. The building that's
It's 11.2. Got it.
that's where that. So we're going. The 11.2 is the variance we actually need to seek. And again, it's pre-existing non-conforming. The front yard setback from the proposed addition is 18.9 feet. So we're not technically increasing the front yard setback at all from what the pre-existing non-conforming situation is.
So just to clarify, the existing auto repair shop at 123, you're putting an addition on that of 2,000 square feet
On the first floor,
on the first floor, and then you're going up,
with a 4,000 square foot office addition, correct?
just gonna go over both,
Correct.
both properties, the existing and
Yep.
the new.
There's about a 2,000 square foot existing building, a 2,000 square foot addition on the first floor to that 2,000 existing square foot building, and then a 4,000 square foot second floor addition over both.
Okay. Okay. Next variance.
Sure. So again, rear yard setback reduction from 25 feet to 4.9 feet. Again, that's on the left-hand side of the property on 125. You will see a pre-existing garage there. And that's the threshold setback that we need a variance from. It's from 4.9 feet.
So that's an existing condition, not one that's being created with your project.
Correct. If you look at the proposed building that we have, we are 21.1 feet to the closest portion of the rear property line.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, but if I do that.
There's no place, I know, we need a table to lay out maps.
Actually, I appreciate the podium. This hasn't been here. This is very helpful to the consultants and the applicants.
Small steps.
Yeah, bigger TV is the next one. So, and then we're looking again at zoning code section 200-64A and B, increase of non-conforming bulk. So essentially, I mean, I have that section of the code which I could read to the board, but I would presume you are aware of what that is, but I'll read it anyways. So in A, there's the lateral extension of a non-complying portion situation for a distance greater than presently exists. Number 2, there's an upward expansion of a building issue. Number 3, I don't believe we have any decks or infilling of open airspace, so that's not part of what we need relief from. But number 4, the extension of an existing non-complying building closer to a property line than the bulk rules require. So even though our limiting front yard's 11.2, which is not because of the new building, and the rear yard's 4.9, which is not because of the new building, still the front and rear yards of the proposed building don't actually meet the setbacks either, even though they're not increasing the nonconformity, at least from being less than either existing setback. And then B is an interesting one because it reads, non-residential buildings or structures, normal maintenance and repair, structural alteration in and moving, reconstruction, and then begins the part that would pertain to this application, enlargement of a building or structure which does not house a non-conforming use. This is a conforming use. Right. It's special permit use. But is non-conforming as to the district regulations for lot area. We don't meet lot area. Lot width, we do meet lot width, so we don't need relief from that. Front yard, we need relief from. Side yard, we do not need relief from. A rear yard, we need relief from, and we do not need relief from height or lot coverage. Is permitted if the same does not increase the degree of or create any new nonconformity with such regulations in such building or structure. So again, it's an interesting one because the relief we're seeking is from existing buildings. It's not from actually the proposed building.
But the proposed building,
It does not meet setbacks as well.
correct.
Yes, agreed. So that's
That's basically a variance in and of itself without the
Agreed.
non-conformity.
agreed. So that's the section that we're looking for relief from 200-64. And then storage of vehicles within any required yard. Again, this has been an automotive repair shop for decades, if I'm not mistaken. And the vehicles have been stored on the site similarly to the way they are stored now for that same period of time. So they're in the same location, I can say that. So they've been in the front yard, or they've been in the front yard for the existence of the project, so we're looking for relief from that. And then zoning code section 200-51O, it permits up to 5 licensed vehicles requiring minor repairs being left outside for a period of more than 48 hours. That's a interesting section of the code that I think probably most of the automotive repair facilities in the village of Monroe do not meet. So those are the variances that we are seeking for this particular application.
So talk to me about the storage of vehicles in the rear yard.
Well, within any required yard. So if you look at the site plan,
Where are these vehicles all the way to the?
if you look at sheet 3 of 6, the planning board, going through the planning process, asked us to specifically delineate the location where the vehicles are being stored. So that's what we've done on this plan now, is we've actually memorialized the location where the vehicles have been stored and will continue to be stored. You will see a thick dashed gray line to the right of the property, and you'll see where all the vehicles are stored. You can see like little boxes with what appears to be wheels. That's the general area that we've noted as the area for outdoor storage of vehicles. So wherever vehicles need any kind of repair, anything that's impounded, anything essentially that's non-drivable that needs to be repaired and within the facility is going to be located in that spot. What we've done also, working with the planning board, is right now there's no curb along the frontage of this property. So what we've done is we've provided curbs with curb cuts so that the cars can get in and out of the site. So we've further kind of delineated and set a boundary for what's going to be the area for the storage of the outdoor vehicles. And take your pick. Those vehicles are in a rear yard, they're in a side yard, they're in a front yard. By nature of the size of the lot, if you take a 40-foot front yard and you take a 50-foot rear yard, you don't really even have anything left over. So
You got negative space.
yeah, you don't have anything left over. Again, that's been the location as far as I've been involved with this project where the vehicles have been stored.
Is there any fencing proposed?
There is. So we have, there's existing fencing right now that's located along the rear of the property. So that's in existence to remain. There's no alterations that are required to it. There's also, that fence also goes along the southern property line, which Mr. Goldberger also owns, the residential property to the right.
What kind of fence? How high?
Sure. I believe it's a chain link fence. I believe it might be 6 feet high.
Open chain link, or is it going to be?
It's open.
Slats? Or?
We actually have had meetings and discussions with Orange County Department of Public Works because the property abuts the Heritage Trail. We had discussions with the planning board about potentially screening that. Our meeting with Orange County, they actually preferred that fence not be screened. We are working with Orange County DPW right now. Essentially, a portion of that fence is on county lands. So we have to obtain a license agreement with the county to maintain that fence in its location. We have correspondence and documentation that we provided to the planning board. My understanding is that this document sits before the legislature right now for like a vote. It's the applicant's risk that we move forward with an approval from the planning board and the ZBA. Although I will note this, if it's made it this far to the legislature and the DPW has been supportive of it, the chances are that this will receive a positive vote with the legislature and we will get an accepted document from them for a license agreement.
Mike, what's the date of the plans you have there? Because I was looking at one from, I think, June that was showing that fence to be removed.
Yeah, we had gone through a few iterations on
Okay.
that. So the latest set of plans is January 24th, 2025. That's the latest revision.
Okay, I don't think
I got a 3/3/25.
Well, actually, I'm looking at the last set because I thought we were going to bring my set up on the screen. I can open the latest set up, though.
No, I mean, I have it here, but
Mine should be pretty much the same as yours.
the prints that they submitted for this application was last revised 3/3/25.
Yeah, I think one of the things that we did was there's a little, I put back on the plan in the vehicle storage area. We had originally removed, there's a small section in there for impounding of vehicles. We had removed that fence, and then we ended up putting it back on based on discussions with the planning board. So that's probably one of the only differences between the plan I have and what you have.
And there's a fence in the front yard too.
No, there can be no fence in the front yard. What we have in the front yard is curbing, as I was discussing before. So the curbing is to delineate the separation between the vehicle storage area, the edge of pavement of the
So it'll be
village
open
road.
to the front.
Correct, yeah.
And you don't have a fence around the side
And the
and
rear,
the back.
correct.
So would it essentially be 0-foot setback for the storage area in the front rear side?
Yeah, essentially. And so that's the storage of vehicles within any required yard. And then again, the last one, 251.0, permits up to 5 licensed vehicles requiring minor repairs being left outside for a period of more than 48 hours.
So that's 7 I get, right? Is that what you have? 7 variances?
7, correct. That's correct.
With that last variance, are you looking to have up to a certain number of vehicles, more than 5, and also time period over 48 hours? Or just
Yes, both.
is there a certain number of vehicles?
So I think what we can do is use the vehicle count that I have shown on the vehicle storage area. I mean, that seems to be the maximum amount of vehicles I can fit.
What's that number?
I'll tell you in 1 second. I get 36. Can you confirm that, Mr. Chairman?
That's what I got, 36.
36.
Storage of vehicles yard, that's up to 36 vehicles. So is this just gonna be around the clock? Shifting of vehicles onto the lot?
It's how they operate now, pretty much. Yeah. I think they'll have to be strategic. Front row is going to be the cars that are going to be worked on more immediately, right? They'll pull out into Elm Street, circle back around and into the garage. They'll make a left, come back in, make a left into the site, get into the garage that way. So they'll have to stagger and think about how they're going to manipulate these cars. It won't be any different than having attendants in a private parking lot, say at the Woodbury Commons, that move cars around and get them in and out.
And these will all be vehicles that are waiting to be serviced, or are they just gonna be storing junked vehicles, unregistered vehicles?
So there's a section of it that'll be for impounded cars, as I noted before. These are, my understanding, they're going to be vehicles that are undergoing repair. They'll need a license plate. They're not going to be unlicensed vehicles.
If it's an impounded vehicle, does it have to be housed in a secure location?
Correct. So the back right corner of, so if you go to sheet 2, because it'll just be a little bit more clear. In the back right hand side, you'll see a fence. That fence. That fence is the area where the impounded cars are kept.
Is that going to be required with 24-hour lighting and cameras?
So there's existing lighting on this. No, that particular site location itself, no. The site is very well lit by natural streetlights, and even the lot across the street from us, the Frontier Communications.
Until the impounded car gets removed by the person who didn't want it impounded.
Boy, he's going to have to go through 4 rows of cars that are parked to get to that. So, I mean,
You'll see.
he's got to be pretty good at hot wiring and pretty quick at it too.
Don't underestimate people's ingenuity.
So Mike, that's gonna be a fenced-in section, because my sheet 2 says existing fence to be removed.
That was a comment we had with the board. I didn't get a chance to make that change prior to submittal to this ZBA, but the discussions with the planning board were that fence remain, and that be allocated still as the vehicle impoundment area.
So it'll be secured by a fence.
Correct. Plus, as I noted before, like a couple of rows of cars in front of it into the side of it. So you'd have to get, like if someone was looking to break into it, they'd have to move all the cars, you follow what I'm saying, surrounding it.
Fence then going to be in a different position than the fence that's there now?
No, it'll be in the same spot pretty much.
Okay. I mean, it looks like there's an opening. It looks like that fence is pretty much right up on the street as it is now, is it not?
No, it's
Right?
not.
It's not?
Yeah. If you see there's a line with 3 smaller lines perpendicular to it, that's the street edge.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm going off I haven't seen it,
Sure.
because there was nothing between the fence and the street recently as I went by the property.
Oh, no, it's there.
There is a fence. There's
Correct.
nothing between the fence and the street.
No, that's correct.
Okay.
Yes, there's nothing there.
So it's secured, it is currently secured by a fence.
Correct. But what I'm saying to you is there will be a row of cars that are stored in front of it as well that are waiting to get repaired. So trying to get a car out of there illegally is going to be
So the variance for the number of cars awaiting service is doubles as part of the security plan.
I'm not sure I understand.
You want to have more cars there than the law allows, both because they're awaiting servicing and because they will impede any potential theft.
Sure. It's an additional layer of protection.
I see, yeah, okay.
Okay, so that that fence is not shown on your site plan on sheet 3.
Yes, as I noted before, that was a discussion.
removed
It's good,
right now.
we're gonna, that fence is gonna get back on the site plan prior to any approval from the planning board.
Let me see if I have any other questions for you.
So the
Pretty well set.
the 36 cars, is that included what may be impounded, or is
Correct.
that separate?
Yes, correct.
Has the applicant considered looking at another location, possibly leasing a larger lot? Because apparently his business is going to thrive and you're going to be overflowing onto the street. It may be cost effective to find a larger property and lease it than renovate and deal with all the headache.
I'm sure that the applicant has considered that. I'm sure you're very well aware, prices in Monroe have skyrocketed. Availability of land for this
So
particular,
is construction prices,
yes.
and they're going to rise.
Everything's skyrocketed. Price of eggs, we can go on and on.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
About eggs.
Talk about lumber. How about the stocks?
I mean, but it's, I can say this, it's a well-established business. Everybody knows where it is.
I've been here a long
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
But you know, like Freeman's, they're well established. They moved
Of
to
course,
another location
agreed.
As well, for a very similar problem.
They've taken over other ones, yes. They've purchased and or bought new, correct, yes.
And they got cars outside, all on their front.
Everywhere. That's why I was alluding,
If you build it, they will come, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
that's why I was alluding to 200-51.0. I mean, most of the, you know, that doesn't seem like anybody's maintaining that particular portion of the zoning code that owns an auto body facility.
When did your lease, when did your client's lease with, on the parking lot across the street take place? When did that?
Within the last few months? Do we have the exact date?
It's brand new.
Yeah, it's recent, it's very recent.
Okay. And it's currently used just for overflow employee parking?
It's currently used for nothing. Frontier Communications owns it, and it's a vacant lot. I think once in a while, you'll see some of their utility trucks parked and stored there. They may once in a while place other equipment there, but I think it's mostly vacant.
Okay. But the plan is to maximize the parking for cars awaiting repair by moving the employees across the street.
There you go, correct.
And the law allows 5 cars, but the applicant wants roughly 36, or you're proposing 36.
Correct.
That seems
Up to 36.
up to 36, sure. That seems like quite a difference from 5. What is it about the business or the site that requires such a variance?
Which variant specifically are you discussing?
Well, I'm talking about the number of cars. Going from 5 to 36 seems like something that we ought not to that warrants comment.
Yeah, understood. So the site currently is utilizing a majority of that area for its customers. Again, we are here before the board tonight to obtain a variance to make it a legal operation that we are pursuing. The business has grown, so they need this area for this amount of vehicles. They process the vehicles. I don't know where I'd rather focus on the number 5. I'm not sure where the village came up with the number of 5 because I don't know any automotive repair facilities that function on only 5 vehicles in a small area.
Yeah.
I mean, when our discussion with the planning board was to either come before the ZBA and or approach the village board to consider revising that section of the code, which is probably the more appropriate approach, but time-wise, it would cause this applicant a longer process to get that approval. You're talking a 6 to 12 month process possibly with the village board to get a zoning code change. You know, we could be here with the ZBA, we'll find out how long, but hopefully a lot less than 6 to 12 months.
Yeah. But on the other hand, that doesn't have the same result, does it? Because if you work through us and we come to some understanding, well, that applies to you guys and your client, but it doesn't clarify things for anybody else.
Understood. And I think that I would hope that maybe between the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board, I do believe the village board's aware of this situation. You know, as we're here before this board seeking a variance for it, either this applicant, this board, or the planning board should possibly have a discussion with the village board to consider changing this, but not during the time period that it would impact this applicant.
What is to prevent the applicant from using the lot across the street for storage of cars awaiting repair? If the business is thriving in the way that, you know, we're characterizing it now, you know, a job comes in and the designated storing lot is full, you know, how is, and you have a half-empty lot across the street, a sizable half-empty lot across the street.
You're not the first village board member that's thought about that. So we had this long discussion with the planning board. There are conditions on the plan that note that, that lot across the street is only to be utilized for employee overflow parking. It's not to be used for the vehicle storage of any cars that need repair. It's enforceable.
Did you know that?
I mean, I think you could probably look at a vehicle and determine if there's any damage to it or not. It's an auto body repair shop.
Yeah, but what if it's finished and awaiting pickup? So now you're gonna store it across the lot because your main lot is still full. In other words, if I brought the car in, you banged out the work real quick, but I can't pick up the car because I don't have a ride there. I'm gonna store it across the street in what was supposed to be zoned for an employee parking lot. How am I gonna know? Is there gonna be a sticker on it, or is there gonna be a parking plaque assigned?
I mean, this is, well, again, these are conditions we can work through with either this board or the planning board. However, at that point, it's not a vehicle that requires repair anymore.
I'm sorry?
At that point, it's not a vehicle that requires repair anymore. It's a vehicle
but it
that's
shouldn't be
been,
part of it.
it's
But it's also not employee.
not disputing that, yes. No, I'm not disputing
Yeah,
that.
I mean, it's a beautiful looking, well-fixed car.
Yes.
Sitting in the employee lot that may or may not be owned or operated by an employee, basically,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
point taken.
I'm not trying to be, you know.
No, point
adversarial. I'm
point
just trying to
taken.
be clear, you know.
Point taken. I mean, if there's a mechanism of how we can deal with that, we would certainly consider it. I would imagine, let's just say that this does occur, which is not the intent. I'm just saying what if, as the board is saying what if. I would imagine if a vehicle is ready, it's not going to be in that lot for very long. Someone's going to want to come and get it pretty quickly so that they can utilize their vehicle. I know over the years, I've been in, unfortunately, a few accidents. I'm always hounding the repair facility. When is it going to be done? The second that it's done, I'm there to pick it up. So, you know, could we place tags on it? We could do that. Could we ID it some other way? We could certainly do that as well.
Will vehicles stay there indefinitely, or is there a date certain where a vehicle will be removed
From
from the day that it gets on the lot?
which lot?
The 36 car storage lot.
Yeah,
So
that's,
if it's there for 45 days, does it just sit there?
it will. I mean, I don't know how long it'll take them to work on each of these cars. I can't speculate.
So we can potentially have, you know, upwards of a handful, maybe a dozen cars just sitting there for an extended period of days.
Yeah, I mean, 36 cars, I mean, I can't, I'm not in the automotive repair facility business. So
No, I
I
understand.
can't speculate, and I certainly can't comment that much, but I would imagine they're moving cars, it appears, pretty quickly. So I don't know what the time period would be, but
How many bays will this place have?
it'll have 2, I believe.
2 bays
Correct.
and potentially 36
Well,
cars? How many workers?
Two that are 2 deep, so I think it's actually 4 technically.
So 4 bays.
Yeah, correct. So there's like, you could fit two cars in
Right.
next to each other, but then another 2 cars in front of that as well.
Right.
So
I guess just
4 cars could be worked on
One
simultaneously.
can, you know, just speaking anecdotally, I think some people may be concerned that it just turns into sort of like just a place where cars are just housed.
Well, I could say this, it's not going to operate any differently than it does now. This is exactly how it's operating. This is roughly the volume of cars that's there.
Right.
And this is currently pretty much how it's operating, or been operating.
Okay.
I just pulled up Google Maps to look at what it looks like. And this is supposedly a 2025 picture. Right now, it looks like you got cars parked all over the place. And there's a lot of grass area. Looks like cars are just stuck in there amongst the weeds. And is that representative of what it is today?
I'm going to try to get to the same thing you're looking at. Give me a second.
Or is that area going to be cleared out and leveled and paved? And
Yeah, so the site has been paved recently, so there's pavement there now. So I don't know what the date is again that you're looking at, but most of the site, if not all of the site, I believe, is currently paved. So you can see the existing conditions plan on the map I provided. Let me see if I can find that. And I believe it'll show you that there's existing pavement.
it looks like this is 2017 picture, so.
Yeah, the entire site's paved. That's what's on our most recent survey. So, I mean, from a pavement perspective, it's certainly on a lot better condition than what that photo shows. I know the one you're looking at because I've looked at it myself. You're going to have curbing along the front of this. By the way, we have a 10-foot landscape easement to the right of the property, which will also be maintained in perpetuity on Mr. Goldberger's residential property to block any views to neighboring residences. We're going to be able to put some planters in here. You're going to have striping. The site's going to look significantly better than it does now. You will also take a look at the renderings that I've provided. The building itself is going to look a lot nicer than what's there right now. So I do believe that this is going to be an improvement to the community in general, as well as an improvement for the applicant.
Why is the office space?
Lots of office space.
That's a lot of office space.
Yeah, it's office and a bit of it's storage, if I'm not mistaken, also to support the business. They need areas to store supplies, materials, things of that nature.
Offices.
Correct. Yeah, if you walk into the building right now, there's not one office. I think they have a little reception area kind of in the front. I think they literally stand there in front of a computer and, you know, process things. So there's certainly office space that's needed for the facility.
I don't see any bays.
You don't see any what?
Oh, that's the second floor.
Yeah. We can't get cars in there yet. We haven't figured it out how to do that.
I didn't look at the bottom. So there's a new garage door going in here to the existing auto. And then you'll have one big bay door to the new facility?
I believe so, yes.
So there'll be two bay doors. Oh, I see. Existing. So there'll be two bay doors facing the front, facing Elm Street.
I don't,
And one on the south side.
correct, yes.
See that? Okay. Anybody else have any other questions?
Well, I guess one of the things on my mind was I kind of wonder about the variance. I guess I'm still trying to get my head around this this variance for the 5 vehicles outside for more than 48 hours. And you know, we're not even talking about a particular, you know, clock for each car, but just an open-ended, you know, condition for, you know, all of the cars, and that strikes me as, in a sense, more than a variance. It's not. It doesn't even function in the same way that the law currently functions, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
If you were to say, there's something about, you know, this business or this property that justifies additional hours per vehicle, and we wanted X number of hours in addition, that's, you know, that's a variance where it, you know, it's functioning in the same way that the law is currently written. But if I understand you correctly, what the applicant is looking for is, you know, well, an exemption from this time-limited quality of the law. And I guess I'm a little uncomfortable about creating new law, in a sense, that applies only to this applicant and not to other, you know, other businesses in the same business would be, in theory at least, bound by the terms of the law.
So I hear what you're saying. But again, I also want to say 5 vehicles for 48 hours. What auto body, or if you come in with a significant amount of damage on a vehicle, there's no way you're completing it in 48 hours. I think we both practically can agree with that statement. So like you're at 5 vehicles at 48 hours at the very left side of this, and then I'm on this side saying, I don't know what the answer is, but we certainly can't do 5 vehicles at 48 hours. I think the 5 vehicles at 48 hours is absolutely unreasonable. And not practical, not pragmatic, use any word you want.
Well, I think you can say 36 cars for an indefinite time is also a bit unreasonable.
I don't think we could say an indefinite time because they have to process the vehicle and they have to do business. So those cars are going to rotate. It's not going to be the same vehicle, but it's going to be vehicles.
Well, you know, this is auto body. It's also predicated on insurance claims being cleared and things like that. And we could have situations where claims are not covered and then cars are just sitting there indefinitely, at which point it just seems to turn into a bit of an eyesore.
Well, cars are going to be there indefinitely. It just may not be the same car. I mean, like
You can't make a blanket statement like that.
Well, okay.
Because if I got into a minor fender bender or something, right? What I view as minor, I don't want to go through insurance. But yet when the bill finally comes to me, it is more than minor and I can't afford it. So now I have to go on the payment plan,
Yeah, right.
which means the car is going to sit there for X until I pay the bill, because you're not gonna release the car to me with a balance owed.
Point taken.
You know,
I mean, what I was just trying to suggest, and that's a very good point. I'm just suggesting that it may not be the same 36 cars, but there's going to be 36 cars there, I guess. You know, I mean, there's no getting around what I'm trying to say to you, is that there could be one day 10, business is bad. There could be one day 36, business is great, but cars are going to be there. I can't tell you how long each car is going to be there. I think there's a lot of factors to consider in that, like something is what you just noted, the extent of the damage.
So the code does talk about the up to 5 licensed vehicles for not to exceed 48 hours, but then also goes on to say, except as to holding of a vehicle for not more than 60 days for insurance appraisal
That's
purposes.
correct, I forgot about that one.
Covering property damage claims, and
Yep.
except holding vehicles necessary to perfect or protect a garageman's lien. So I guess maybe the question is how those vehicles that are being stored, do the majority fall under the 48?
Yes,
are they minor repairs, or are the majority under the second?
Yes, I apologize. We can adhere to that section of the code, and I think that should actually, we'd have to adhere to that section of the code. I think that's actually required.
So it's gonna be auto body and auto repair.
I think the repair is incidental to the auto body. There's
The auto repairs is, mechanics.
correct. Yeah, I think they need to do mechanical work and auto body work depending on what the damage is to the car.
So they have a spray booth and all
Correct.
that type of stuff?
Correct.
And this in no way is going to impact Heritage Trail in any way?
This has been to Orange County Planning. They've reviewed it. Orange County DPW has been out to the site. This has been operating this way for a long time. There's going to be an
At 0 feet away?
yeah, we've always been 0 feet away.
Well, in fact,
The
it's
property.
less than 0 feet, because if you listen
Yeah, we're
closely, the fence is on the Heritage Trail.
actually, yeah,
So-
inside of it.
I know.
Correct.
But is it fair to say that the goal is for this business, his business, to do better than the existing business?
I think his business is increasing, and I think he
Right.
needs, I think he
So
needs
if the
extra
current
space.
business is having no impact on Heritage Trail, fine. If his business doubles, how can he,
So, I mean, if you're talking about what kind of impact are you discussing on
Yeah.
the Heritage Trail? I mean, so I can tell you this in terms of spray paint booths and things of that nature. They have air scrubbers, things of that nature. So, odors, volatile organics, they'll be processed possibly better in the new facility than the old one. They'll redo it and have to meet whatever today's codes are.
right?
The vehicles that you're seeing from the Heritage Trail and or Crane Park are going to be the same vehicles and the same visual impact that you see now.
Right.
So I don't,
I'm more worried about chemicals and things of that nature.
yeah, there's if and when we receive our variances and a site plan approval, the applicant will be required to go to the building department with architectural plans that meet New York State Building Code and specifically for this particular use. So all the required scrubbers, volatile organic protection, all that stuff's going to have to be part of the construction plans.
So just backing up again to that issue with the 5 vehicles, 48 hours versus 60 days, I think we need to fine tune what exactly you're requesting.
Yeah.
Is it more than 5, up to 36 vehicles just for the 48 hours? Or
I think we need not to exceed the 60 days.
that's one component, but it's also, that's separate from, you could have up to 5 for 48 hours, and then you could also have an unspecified number, I guess, for up to 60 days. I think, as you were mentioning, the length of time for those.
Can you repeat the 60-day part of that?
Sure, it says, except as to the holding of a vehicle for more than 60 days for insurance appraisal purposes covering property damage claims, and except as to the holding of a vehicle for the required period to perfect or protect a garageman's lien pursuant to statute, and except as to the holding of vehicles impounded by the state of New York. So I think there's kind of three categories of vehicles that could potentially be stored. You have minor repairs, impounded vehicles, and then also vehicles that are undergoing the insurance appraisal. And I think the board should just have an understanding of how many of each or what you're really looking for. I don't know if that's something that can be quantified or not.
Is there a way you can break up this section here and say, okay, vehicles that are here for the 60 days that are going to go in this section, but the vehicles that are waiting for repairs, you know,
I'm
we're
gonna,
going to have this line for these 10 vehicles, and we'll rotate them out at least every, 72 hours.
Lipa Deutsch is also representing the applicant. He may have more knowledge about the operations than I do, so I will turn that portion over to him.
Hi, my name is Lipa Deutsch. I'm representing the applicant, and I don't think so. We are looking for a variance for 36 cars, for impact cars over there on the property. He is probably taking all the cars in right away. The only problem is that 5 cars to have outside is a number which is impossible, like the planning board says and the building inspector says, and we cannot enforce it. And all auto body shop has the problems over there. So I don't think so we need 36 cars. I think so we can have a limit of a number. If it's 10 or 15 cars, that probably will cover that, because I don't think so he has more than a certain amount of cars waiting for repair to go in. There's other cars which he just mentioned about the code is for insurance and appraisal cars. That's something which the code is allowed 60 days, which normally I don't think so he has any cars sitting on the property for 60 days. I went over with the owner, with the applicant, that numbers. So the only problem we have is with the 5 cars which the code is asking. And if we make it for 15 cars, I don't think so we need more than 15 cars there. If you want to make it for 72 hours, I think so that will work. And it's not that we're looking for more. And the owner is not looking to expand the business for more. He feels that he needs to add the 2,000 to serve the customer that he has now. So if he has 2 more spots, he's able to get it quicker in and out.
2 more bays, you mean?
Yes.
Not spots, but
Yeah,
but
2
bays
more
in order to work.
space.
Yeah.
How many vehicles can fit in that impound section, do you know?
Give me 1 second.
Was it 38? 36?
I want to say 6 to 8. I'm not mistaken.
6 to 8?
So, we think 6 to 8, somewhere in that range, can fit in the impound.
In the impound.
Yeah.
So if you do 6 to 8 in the impound, you got 10 to 15 for cars undergoing repairs, then you're at what, 16, 21, then you're at maybe
Well, 23 and 15.
30,
yeah.
20 vehicles for,
Not even 13. So, right, because if there's 8 in the impound area, and if we're talking about 15 outside of that, that's 23. We could fit 36. So that's a difference of 13 vehicles.
And for the insurance, we don't need that variance because you can have for 60 days.
Correct. So for 15 vehicles, so 15 vehicles, we would certainly need the extension for more than 5 vehicles for 48 hours. I don't think we're going to have 13 cars that are going to be there over up to 60 days for insurance appraisal purposes, but that would be the other number, give or take. At least that gives this board an idea of what we're looking at. I mean, 8 cars in there split the difference for the other two, maybe 15 and 13 or 14 and 14, something like that, I'm not sure. Those are
But
reasons.
as you point out, how are you gonna enforce it?
But I think those are,
You
I
don't
think
know which
those-
vehicles
I
are
think
waiting
those
for
are,
repairs, and which ones are waiting for insurance appraisals, and which ones are waiting for the auto body, and which ones are impound, which ones are under garageman lien.
it's a difficult section of the code.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who crafted it,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure why it hasn't been revised yet.
If I remember, the building inspector and the planning board says that it's impossible to enforce that law.
It's not even a practical,
Well, it's just
section of the code.
I mean, who's to say? You can say, oh, no, I only have 5 vehicles that are waiting auto repair, the rest of them are waiting for appraisals, and I can keep them here for more than 60 days?
But what,
60
No, up to
days,
60
up to 60
Up to
days.
60
Yeah, I mean, I think if it came down to it where it was an issue, they'd have to show some type of documentation, but
if we establish these numbers, it gives this board, the planning board, and the building inspector something that they can try to use that's for enforcement. So as Ashley noted, if the building inspector goes and says, show me which cars are going into repair, show me which cars are awaiting insurance appraisal, show me which cars are impounded, at least we have something to
Some sort of guideline.
some sort of threshold.
All right, anybody else have any other questions, or I'll open up to the public, if this is a public hearing? Anything further from the board? Okay, so at this time, I'll open the public hearing portion of the meeting. Anybody in the public have any questions or comments with regard to the application? Come forward, state your name, please address your comments to the board.
Good evening. My name is Michael Hagopian Sr. I pulled up the tax map on both these properties. I'm not sure if that's 100% right, but I come up with about 36,000 square feet. One lot is 276.4 by 89, a bigger lot with a building on it. And the other one's 121 by 100. It gives you 12,000 square feet. Now, the other question I got is they were talking about the impound lot. How are they gonna maneuver cars if they got the block in that lot with other cars? How are they gonna put the cars in that lot with tow trucks? And plus, they have 3 or 4 tow trucks on that lot. So, that's another thing. Where are they gonna be storing the tow trucks and the equipment for that? I mean, if you look at this lot, most of it is towing and storage going on. And the size of the building they're putting up, you got 2,000 square feet, you're parking inside to do repairs on cars, it's roughly about 500 square feet per bay. So you got 4 bays right now, and you're adding another 4 bays. Just a couple comments in that respect.
So right now, you're saying he's got about 4 bays, and with the addition, he'll have another 4 bays?
Correct.
Sorry.
You got 20 by 25 as a bay for inside to work on a car. You're not working all the way around the same car. The car's in the front, the back, and the side, so you have plenty of room to maneuver.
Okay. So I guess that's a good thing, right?
Well, it's a lot of space he's got, so he's got
More
space
bays,
inside.
you can fix cars faster, and
Right.
get them in and out, right?
Yeah, he's doubling the space then, he should be
Right.
moving the cars around, and, you know, if he's storing the cars, he should store them remotely somewhere else and bring them into the site when he needs to work on them if they're waiting for insurance companies to look at them, or, you know.
Right, but we know under the code, he's allowed to keep them for up to 60 days for that, so.
Right, again, how are you gonna control that? Who's gonna control it? The
Right,
police.
that's the problem, how do you control it? I guess, that's the difficulty, is the enforcement.
Yep. And I believe they're operating right now without a spray booth.
That's great.
There's no spray booth in that building, as far as I know.
Where do you live in relation to this establishment?
I own a piece of property on the corner of Anderson and North Main, the 4-family on the corner. I own that since 1994. And originally that building was an excavator company, Dally Trucking was in there. And then it went to a mechanical shop, probably somewhere around 2010. And they moved out, I think, around 2018. It was a automobile repair shop for foreign cars. And the other building was Rieger Limousine Service.
125, you mean, was the limousine service?
Yeah, the little building next to the lumberyard.
And the foreign car business was there, the 2010, 2018, is that what you're telling us?
Yeah, I believe it was up until 18.
And how do you know that there isn't a spray booth in the building?
You don't see no stacks coming out of the building. They're fairly large exhaust stacks coming out of the building. Look at other body shops, you'll see them stacks, and you can see them from roadways. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Gopian. Gopian, H-A-G-O-P-I-N. So, just a couple comments with regard to Mr. Gopian's comments. Tow trucks, where are they gonna be stored? And how many do you keep on site?
So, you've touched on the one thing I think we didn't possibly not cover with the planning board. But looking at the site and the site plan, we have adequate room behind the building. We have adequate room even in the 5 parking spaces that are allocated to the right-hand side that are next to the vehicle storage area. So I do believe we can get at least 1 or 2 tow trucks in the site that would not cause any impact to site functionality or circulation.
So the code allows 1 tow truck.
Okay, well then that's what we will adhere to.
So we're saying there'd be 1 tow truck parked on the property, that's what we're saying?
Correct.
If I were to look there now, how many tow trucks would I find?
I'm gonna go drive by tonight after this meeting, I'll tell you that.
One-ish?
Yeah, one-ish.
Okay. I mean,
So those won't count towards the 36, right?
No.
Tow trucks.
No.
But again, that's another enforcement issue, right? If it's only allowed to have 1 and he's got 2 and the building inspector goes there, you can give him a violation for having more than 1 tow truck.
Yeah, we're getting into site plan related issues right now, and this is a zoning board of appeals. And a zoning board of appeals has every right to look at site plan issues, but I don't think it should be their focus.
only at your request, right? I mean, we are, but yeah, you're asking us to do a little legislating here, in essence.
But at least we have some numbers now that I think we can utilize to provide some kind of limitations to the property.
With regard to the property size, we do have a certified survey, right? It shows it's 39,000.
Yeah,
One's 25, one's 14.
Correct. The certified survey was prepared by Civil Tech. That's part of the documents we've submitted to the planning board. So tax maps are extremely unreliable sources of information for lot area. But a certified survey by a land surveyor is what you should go by.
But either way, you're only asking a variance for 39,000, not even if it is 36, then you got a problem. So.
Correct, but we're at 39, whatever it is, 518. So About a 1 or 2% variance is what we're looking for.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the audience, from the public, give any other comments, questions regarding the application? Okay. Any further questions for the board? What do we want to do? Do you want to close the public hearing? Do you want more documentation, more information? Do you want them to come back and bring you more, or you have enough to be able to?
I just have a question, Paul. These, the letters were sent out certified mail. Do we know how many people got it?
You know, the white receipts, Mr. Finch? That we do not know.
Might want to hold it open, maybe, I don't know.
Mr. Hagopian's here, so he got his notice.
One-ish.
Well, let me say this, not a single person showed up to the public hearing for the planning board.
They were also sent certified mail.
Correct. They're required for the planning board.
We're so much more fun than they are.
Wish I'd known, certified mailings are very expensive.
And that's another reason why we changed it,
The-
because
the only-
they're almost $7 for a certified return receipt.
If
right?
I could make a better suggestion, you can send them non-certified, but you should have an affidavit from either the ZBA secretary or the village clerk that they dropped them off at the post office. Because otherwise you have no,
That's the certificate of mailing.
Right.
So
Yeah,
you
okay.
can send something regular mail, and for like another 50 cents,
Right.
the post office will stamp a certificate that you mailed it regular mail.
okay,
And that they received
Yeah,
it.
that's-
And that's our process.
gotcha, okay.
Yeah. So that we don't need an affidavit that you mailed them, that's.
Just that from the post office, gotcha, okay.
So,
But even the certificate of mailing doesn't guarantee they've received it, just
it doesn't
guarantees it was
guarantee
mailed.
receipt, just guarantees it's
So I
mailed,
don't think we
right?
should hold this up because we can't guarantee they've received these certified letters. It's not-
We might have some of that information any minute, we might be getting it electronically.
Well, I mean, the requirement is the mailing.
Right.
Yeah,
Not necessarily the receipt,
See, yeah.
right? That's why we put it in the paper, we post it in Village Hall and on the website. We don't post, a lot of municipalities require applicants to put posters on their property. So that somebody drives by, they'll see a poster that says there's gonna be a public hearing.
Technically speaking, it's supposed to be a more foolproof and thorough process to send it certified return receipt. Regardless, if the person doesn't want to accept the mailing, the attempt was made, period.
No,
And we have a record of the attempt
no,
being
I
made.
understand that. My concern is with the certified mailing, as I indicated in the beginning, was, you send a regular letter, the postman leaves it, he goes, you go to your mailbox, it's sitting there. If it's certified mail and you work all day and there's nobody home to receive that letter, after 2 attempts, they usually just put a slip on your door.
That's
saying
correct.
you have a certified letter, come to the post office and get
Get
it.
it, right.
They may not be able to get to the post office for a week. And by the time they get to the post office and get that certified letter, the hearing could be over. You know, so
Point taken.
that's the problem with the certified mailing is, you know, if you want proof that somebody received it and you get those return receipts, then you have it.
Right.
But other than that, there's no guarantee that the person got that notice in time to become aware of the meeting and to participate. So that's why we switched to the regular mail. And the cost. You know, some applicants have to
Yeah, it
notify
depends.
30 people at $7 a pop. It's
I've
a
done
lot of
mailings
money.
that are well over $1,000,
Yeah,
several $1,000s sometimes.
yeah.
No, you have to book a time.
was that,
You have to make an appointment.
Is not happy when you come with satisfied mail. All this envelopes.
Yeah, so they have to.
No, they make you book a time for it, actually.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 5, right? At least 5 that were returned to us. And we know Mr. Hagopian got it, so that makes 6.
All right, so what do you guys want to do?
See, vote.
Well, I've got a question about some of these setbacks. wasn't there a railroad law that affected the setbacks of a property that was backed up to the railroad? And isn't this such a property? And doesn't that, wouldn't that have changed the setbacks that would apply to that property when it was built? And what would that mean now with the railroad out of there? We had something like this with the Pets I Love, I think, which also abutted the
That was the Heritage Trail.
Right. Well, that's what I'm talking
Right,
about.
that's-
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying is, so you're saying is when the railroad was there all
When the
those years ago?
railroad was there, I think didn't that law state that you didn't have a requirement for a rear setback and maybe on the sides too?
So there, I just found section 225. It says no side yard setback or rear yard setback shall be required where such portion of the lot abuts the right of way of a railroad, limited access highway, or utility transmission line at least 50 feet in length.
So if there was a railroad
At least
there,
50 feet in length. If the property is 50 feet in length,
It abuts the right of way.
For 50 feet.
or
That's
50
at least
feet.
50 feet in width.
That's just section 225, there's no other subsection?
200-25.
Oh,
waiver of
200-25, you said, okay.
All right. And now, that was true for this property back when it was built, right?
we don't know that.
So it was a
that was me
former-
asking.
A former railroad right of way?
Pardon?
Is it currently a right of way for the railroad? It was former.
I was getting to that next.
Yeah,
Well, it's the Heritage Trail now,
yeah, so,
which was built on the bed of the former railroad,
Right.
so.
But it says
I don't think
right
it
of way
would-
of a railroad, not,
yeah, I don't think it would apply unless it was
I
currently.
think it's owned by the
No,
county
I
of
think
Orange.
John's point is that if, when it's a railroad, if this was built then, they wouldn't have need to have any side setbacks, so this 4.9 feet or, you know, the 16.2.
Oh,
Now-
for
The
the existing.
existing conditions now might not have been,
I think we need to engage on the front setback for sure, because there's something that, you know, that's not covered in the law
Sure.
that we're talking about. But when this thing was built, my understanding is that this was before the railroad went out, and that would mean that they wouldn't have needed the side and the rear. So what happens when the railroad leaves, does that suddenly mean that they now have to meet these requirements that they were exempt from? I'm a little confused on that point. But, you know, I wonder what the application of that law means about their side and rear setbacks. I'm not lawyer enough to know, but,
Well, I think the side is no longer an issue
Right.
since they are merging. It would be the rear. And
did we not have side here?
I
Yeah,
think originally it did. So it would be the rear, and I think they would still need, because the addition is going to be non-compliant.
It would be,
So it would be more compliant than the existing buildings, but
but still not compliant.
still less
Still
than the
not
25
compliant.
feet required, right?
We, 21.1 feet, we would require 25.
and I think the others would be pre-existing non-conforming either under this railroad provision, or if they're pre-existing non-conforming, even if the setback had applied back when they were.
That's a matter of interpretation, maybe for this board. It was a right-of-way for a railroad at one point that has been extinguished. But the property was constructed, I mean, Mr. Gilstrap brings a good point, it was constructed prior to that railroad being extinguished. Does that still apply? Or does it not apply, and do we need a variance? I think that's what we're talking about, in summary. So there'll be one less variance the board would have to vote on if that's the interpretation of this board, with guidance from your attorney.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see how we can, it's not a railroad, so I don't know how we can apply that standard. So we're really looking at variances for existing condition and the extension of the one non-conforming bulk requirement. I mean, you have 4.9. If we tell them no, go away, the 4.9
Doesn't go away, right?
It's existing, it's there. Nobody's making them rip down the building. So,
Same thing with the front yard.
same thing with the front yard.
And it's worth noting too, village code requires us to take the front yard setback to the edge of the pavement. Our property line actually extends to the center line of the road.
Yeah, I see. You're measuring from the designated
Right,
street line.
from the designated street line. So technically,
You got another,
we have more than that, but that's the village code, and so that's what we have to go by. But again, this is something that this board can factor into their consideration.
how wide is that portion?
You want to know how much further it is to the center?
The designated street line, it looks like it's at least another 10 feet, right?
Probably close. Let me see if I can give you a better idea.
If you can scale it, it's at least 10, maybe more.
Oh, it's more for sure, because if you take a look to the right of that number 125 frame building, actually have a 10-foot dimension right there. So if you take the 11.2, you can at least add that, and we're still probably a little bit short to the property line. So I would imagine we're 23, 24 feet, somewhere in that range, close to it.
Right, because the width of that portion between the street line and the curb line of Elm Street is saying is about 12 feet or so, 13
At least, because again, if you just look at that 11.2 foot dimension,
Right, it's at least that big.
it's at least that big and a little bit more. So I'm suggesting we're 23, 24 at least feet from the actual
Right
property
there.
line.
And if we add another, if you look at that 12 feet by the 18.9 foot section, you're
Now,
19.
it's still a 50-foot
Still
front yard setback,
Yeah.
but then again, a 50-foot front yard setback in this section of the Village of Monroe, I'm not sure how many existing buildings are meeting that front
I'm
yard setback.
looking, I mean, I don't think the Frontier building meets it. I don't, definitely the property across from it. Wasn't that the old Ace Hardware?
Most, if not all, the properties in
Right on
here,
top of the road.
I would gamble at least 50% of the buildings in this area don't meet the front yard setback. Because this is an older section of the Village of Monroe that was built a long time ago before a 50-foot front yard was established.
All right, one last time. Does anybody want anything that we should keep the public hearing open for, or should we just close the public hearing and proceed to vote?
Good.
You're good? All right, so I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Seconded by Elizabeth. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public hearing's closed. Okay. What's the board want to do?
We can certainly work with the board to establish threshold numbers on the vehicles in the storage area. I think we can do that part if that gives the board any additional comfort in considering making a decision. I think that most of the other variances are black and white at least. That seems to be the only one that was a little gray, but if we put some numbers on it, that gives the board a level of comfort. I'm sure the applicant would be willing to do that. And now that I have a better understanding myself of how the facility functions, it sounds like I don't think it'll be an issue for us to maintain it either.
I will say that I myself would like, if I'm to consider reimagining this section of law, I want to have a really clear idea of what we are talking about arriving at. So I appreciate that offer, and I think I would be in favor of drilling down on this particular variance so that we have a real firm idea of, what we're talking about. Because I think it's a little unclear as things stand right now. And even then, I must say, I myself am a little uncomfortable with reimagining this piece of code. So at least we ought to maybe get some clearer language about just what is being proposed.
So, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you go right ahead.
So we had talked about 8 cars in the impound. We're talking about 15 cars, I think, being worked on at any given one time, with the potential for 13 of those cars that are remaining. So 8, 15 is 23, subtracted from 36 is 13. So it'd be 13 cars that could potentially be under that insurance 60-day condition.
And those 15 being worked on, that would be, I think you had said earlier, 72 hours, or would it be the 48 hours?
72. I mean, I don't know how fast auto body shops work. I personally think, I don't know. That seems like Mr. Hagopian, can you comment on that? Can you get 15 cars done in 3 days? Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's, because that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know that 15 cars in 3 days is, I don't know. I feel like that should be a little bit longer than 3 days. I don't.
Now that is where.
Well, you're rotating them though, right? So even if you have 15 cars there, you take 5 in, you get them out. That's not the same 15 cars that are sitting there for.
I think what I'm trying to express to the board is I just don't know that I.
Yeah, it is problematic too. I don't know how you enforce it. To tell you the truth.
I just don't know that 3 days is a reasonable number. I don't know how fast they can do these repairs. I just don't know.
Well,
I don't want to. What I don't want to do is put the applicant in a position where it's just not enough time. I'm not looking for 60 days. I mean,
the applicant does know.
Yeah, do you maybe need to talk with the applicant to find out what they'd be looking for? Because I do understand the board, the concern with granting some
Leap, are you asking that question right
time
now?
period.
Yeah, he's asking the question right now. He's going to get an answer.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Certain cars are toted, right? Because the owners can't bring them in to have the vehicle serviced.
Right.
That's one. Somebody needs this brake job or whatever else. He says, "Okay, I can't take you in. Come in 2 days. Come in on Thursday. Don't come in on Tuesday." So, I don't know how you enforce that.
But at least
you have a number.
We have a number, and then it's somehow between the building inspector and the auto body shop to establish what that is, and hopefully the village will think about revising that portion of the code in the meantime, or
I mean,
ex
even though,
post facto, I guess.
I mean, I guess 5 may be quote unquote unreasonable. He's asking for 7 times as much, and I can argue that seems unreasonable as well.
I'm sorry, 7 times as much.
I mean, it says 5, right? And he's asking for, and he has.
No, we're talking
With
about
certain
15. 15.
carve outs, though.
But I'm looking at the map, and the map has 36 spots, correct?
Correct, but 15 of those would be the vehicles that we're looking for to be more than
what are the
48
other-
hours, but not up to 60 days.
13 is what you mean the insurance and so on. The
So what are the
We
other,
can do it either way.
the other 21 spots?
They would be for vehicles that they're waiting for insurance appraisals or adjustments, or impounds.
That's what I was thinking.
Right, so we can potentially have upwards of 36 cars on that lot, potentially, right? Am I reading that wrong?
Actually have up to 36 cars on that lot that he would be entitled, if they weren't for auto repair and they were in there for the purposes of insurance adjustment or impounds,
Then he's
he can
60 days.
theoretically have 36 cars just for that.
Yeah, the
And
5
he can keep them up to
vehicle,
60 days.
Okay.
the 5 vehicle 48 hours is for vehicles that are there for minor repairs. So the idea is they're minor repairs, they would be there for
Who
2 days.
determines what's minor and what is it? How is that determined?
Insurance company, I
Reading it
presume.
in conjunction with maybe the insurance appraisal, that the insurance is gonna take longer when it's a bigger.
So I guess it's a monetary
Actually,
value
now
that you-
determines minor versus
There's
major.
actually a record of why a car has to be there for any longer period of time than is what's required. Truly, the insurance company is probably going to be the one that dictates how many hours they're allotted to do the work.
It,
You
but the
follow what I'm
building
saying?
inspector is not going to go out there and it's going to say, "Give me your manifest. Show me which vehicles are sitting here waiting for repair. Show me the
don't-
reports from the insurance companies. Let me look at all the VINs." I mean,
Oh, I don't know if it's that difficult. An insurance company is going to give you an estimate.
no, I'm
with,
saying for the building inspector, he's not going to go out there and he's going to be the cop of the property. I assume if he gets a lot of complaints and he's going to go out there, maybe he's going to try and verify it. But on a regular basis, he's not going to just drive past and go,
Which
"Gee,
is-
let me do a spot check and make sure he's only holding 10 cars or 15 cars for quote minor
No,
repairs."
but what I was suggesting is it would be very easy for the owner to produce the insurance appraisal that has a license plate on it that the building inspector could match to the vehicle very, very easily. And that insurance appraisal will say 20 hours for this, 10 hours for that, 5 hours for this, and you're going to know how long that car could or should be there. The other thing you noted also just now is that complaints. I don't know that we've received any complaints about the way this facility's been working till now. Certainly no one's shown up to any public hearings, and I don't believe there's any building inspector records that reflect that.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm not even dealing with that. That was just a
Sure.
hypothetical, you know.
But the applicant just noted now, they said 15 cars for 5 days would be like a plenty of time. They would have no issue with that.
Okay. Well, why don't we go through some of these other variance requests? There's 7 of them. That's just one of them. So let's go through them and see how the board feels about them. The first one, a lot area. He's going from 40,000 to 39,518. He just misses it by a little bit, and the applicant has.
Is there any way we can just leave and put this on for the next quarter?
Yeah, okay, let's do that. I don't want to keep you waiting any longer. I appreciate you waiting. We're going to take a break for 1 second, okay? The applicant for 15 Park has been waiting, hoping that Mr. Margada shows up and then we can handle his application. Here it is 9:30, he hasn't shown up. I don't see any need to make the applicant wait any longer, so if you want to request your adjournment till the next meeting and hope we'll try again.
Yes, we're looking forward to having a full board on that time to hear our final arguments and documentation that we've already provided to the board, and we're looking for the next meeting scheduled.
Okay, I'm going to make a motion that we adjourn the application of 15 Park to our meeting on May 13th.
I'll second that.
Seconded by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your courtesy.
All in favor? Again,
Apologize.
sorry. I'm sorry to you, I'm sorry for the applicant, I'm sorry they had to waste your time, but thank you for your understanding.
Good holidays.
Thank you.
Take care.
Okay. All right, thank you for,
No worries. I'm
Well, let's
glad-
take that
glad-
at turn.
Glad to accommodate that.
okay. So, lot area, 40,000 to 39,518. The applicant significantly reduced the request he was making from his first application by merging the 2 lots and making a much bigger lot. I don't see that as being problematic from my
No,
standpoint.
me neither.
I don't think it's significant. I don't really think it's going to have
Right.
an impact on the character of the community. Everybody,
That doesn't trouble me.
okay, so that's that one. Let's go section 251, which requires 200 feet to a recreational area. And this property, as you know, backs the Heritage Trail. And then on the other side of the Heritage Trail is the boundary of Monroe Crane Park. This property, this facility has existed here all this time. And the fact that the county Department of Planning didn't have any comments, didn't have any issues, and the fact that everything's existing except for this addition, which is, what, 21.1 feet instead of the 25 is supposed to be?
Correct.
So from my standpoint, that's really a minimal encroachment. It's greater than the existing encroachment of 16.2 for the existing auto repair shop and 4.9 feet for the framed garage. So from my standpoint, I don't have any issues with that.
Neither
How
do
does the
I.
rest of the board feel?
I guess I'm a little confused here. So the minimum setback to a public recreation area is supposed to be 200 feet?
Correct.
And we are talking about 0, in fact, negative, if we want to be funny about it. That is what we're talking about.
Right, and that's only because the facility backs the
Predates,
Heritage Trail.
well, the facility,
pre-existing
I believe,
condition.
predates the Heritage Trail. In
Exactly.
fact, I know it
Exactly.
does because the trail terminated elsewhere until recent years, so.
Yeah, it's terminated up by,
Chester in that area.
no, it came down to the park and ride across from Orange. and
Oh,
Rockland
yeah, you're right.
Lakes.
O&R, yeah, you're right.
Right, and then they extended it down.
Right.
Right. So there is a problem, but the problem was the advancing of the public recreation.
Exactly.
Now, what is the Crane Park situation? Because that's the same thing, but a separate occurrence, right?
I think they're just being more specific as to there's the Heritage Trail and then there's also that. So they're both within the 200 feet. The Heritage Trail is 0.
So it's 90 feet
To-
to Crane Park.
I believe
That's
so.
what we're talking
Correct.
about.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
But now Crane Park hasn't moved, unlike the trail.
Crane Park hasn't moved. When you say Crane Park, I mean, it's that small little sliver between Mill Pond Parkway and the Heritage Trail. It's not even the park,
Right, which
further up, and, it's right next to the parking lot of, I guess, the parking ride or the Heritage Trail parking.
I would note too, county planning looked at this, DPW looked at this. There wasn't even one comment, I don't believe, about that. There was no comment on any of the variances, actually.
Yeah, we did. We got a letter from
Orange County Planning.
Department of Planning that remanded it for local determination.
Well, I meant our planning board.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
Did we get a letter from our planning board?
I don't know, I didn't see it. I thought we got a referral. I don't know if there was anything other than
You have the
that.
negative declaration, but I don't.
We have the
think
negative.
All right, the negative declaration, right, correct.
But no, nothing from our planning board.
Which discussed that, by the way, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's not problematic. It's there, it's existing. The county didn't have a problem with it. You can't,
I agree.
you're gonna have a fence there.
Right.
So, I mean, how did you deal with that fence with the planning board? If you don't get approval, you're gonna have to move it back onto your property, I guess?
Yes, yes, yep.
And it's definitely, the proposed addition definitely exceeds all the existing conditions. The property to the north encroaches it greater than this new addition will. So I really don't have a problem with the 200 feet. Any
If
other
the county
comments on that
didn't,
one?
the county didn't have a problem.
County didn't have a
The
problem.
county, we were willing to put up, like I noted before, the fence slats. And they said, we'd rather not have the fence slats there.
I wonder why.
What is it that they want then? They want a straight chain link open?
Just the existing chain link fence, leave it alone.
Okay.
Oh, we have slats in the back? Yeah. Okay, I stand corrected.
Right.
I met with
Yeah,
the,
let me because
I met with the commissioner a couple times over there. He came over and he said, don't touch as of now, keep it as is.
Just leave it.
leave everything as is, and he has no issue, huh?
But it has the slats already in the.
It has a class already, so
Okay, and
that's
he
something.
just wants it just like that.
Just for that, I was offering for the county to plant over there, some landscaping over there, nice landscaping, and they didn't want to take responsibility on the landscaping. I don't know why. They said, leave it as is.
Thanks for
I met with the
clarifying.
Commissioner Travis.
I apologize for the misinformation. I didn't realize there were slats back there.
Okay. The next one, the front yard, 50 feet. You have an existing 11.2 feet to the framed office to the north. You have an existing 29.3 feet to the existing auto repair shop. This one's going down to 18.9 feet from the corner of the new addition. If you drive up and down Elm Street, as Mr. Morganti pointed out, very few facilities meet that 50 feet. The properties as you go north, you know, I think it's the old, I think Ace Hardware.
Yes.
Looks like it's about the same 11 feet as the framed office. I don't think this reduction in the front yard is really gonna have an impact. It's not inconsistent with the existing conditions in the neighborhood. That's, you know, it's gonna stand out and change the character. That's from my standpoint.
I agree.
Jim, how do you feel about that one?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
John?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. John?
Yeah, it seems like a pretty substantial variance to me. On the other hand, it is true that this is a very difficult property. This whole case I find difficult for all kinds of reasons. This is a very strange property with a whole lot of odd history behind it, and I think it just would be wrong, I guess, to penalize the current owner for the
Pre-existing condition.
tortuous history of this particular property. I mean, I struggle to figure out how it's one or the other. It seems like there doesn't seem to be any remedy that we could really consider. It's either we accept this, or we just out and out refuse and leave you in a non-compliant state. So I'm not clever enough to figure out what we could do to ameliorate the situation. So I suppose I'm inclined to back that variance, although a variance of that degree, mathematically speaking, rubs me the wrong way. But I don't know how else to resolve it with this very difficult property with a very difficult history. So
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's a very difficult property. It's unique.
oh, let us hope.
These are pre-existing conditions. I think that's what really does it for
Yeah.
me. Because part of what I think about when we make a decision is, in the future, people can say, well, you did it for him, you have to do it for me. They can point to precedent, but this is a pre-existing condition.
Correct.
So that's where I tend to give them a little bit more leeway.
Yeah, it's a pre-existing condition, but we are talking about increasing the degree of nonconformity, though, in this application. So it's not just that we are giving a stamp to this existing nonconformity. We're talking about allowing that to be increased, right? So that
It's true.
Yes.
I find
But
difficult.
But I think that the setback it's greater than the existing condition, and it's greater than the conditions that exist on the adjacent properties.
I'm sorry, Paul, I didn't follow.
So what I'm saying is, this is only 18.9 feet, right? I agree, we're creating a new condition, but it's greater than the existing condition of 11.2 feet to the framed office. And when you go over to the next property over, that property is also about 10 feet from the property line. And when you go across the street to where the Frontier building is, they're not meeting the 50 feet either.
Yeah, I guess I struggle with that, reasoning, because if we extend that, then, when do we enforce the setback at all?
No, I understand that, but, they're asking for a variance, and the question in my mind when looking at a variance is, does it generally consistent with the existing conditions in the neighborhood such that it's not going to create a detriment or be out of harmony with the existing conditions? And I think that's
also part of the
only
five
point I
factors.
wanted to make is-
Part of the 5 factors for the board to consider. You're 100% right.
Right. So, is it going to change the character of the neighborhood? I don't think so. The character of the neighborhood is there. It's established. Very small setbacks to existing structures, and this is
You could argue
sort of
that
in conformity and in harmony with those existing conditions.
you could argue the new building and the facade will actually improve the look as well, potentially.
Well, I don't know if you're going to say it's going to improve it, but it's certainly not going to detract from it.
It'll make it look newer.
Newer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. Is the rear yard from 25 feet to the existing 4.9 feet for that existing one-story frame dwelling to the north. The existing auto repair shop is 16.2, and the new addition is going to be 21.1. The requirement's 25.5, so the new addition is not meeting it by less than 4 feet. And again, with regard to that, the same argument as the front. I don't think it's inconsistent with what exists. It's not inconsistent with the neighborhood, and I don't think it's going to create any detriment. And the fact that the county had no comments with regard to this building being within the required setback to the Heritage Trail, it leads me to believe that the county doesn't have any problems with it being close to their recreational area. Anybody else want to comment on that one?
I agree.
You agree? Jim?
Yeah, I'm good with that one.
John?
Yes.
Okay. John?
I'm just more open, I think, on these setback issues than I might otherwise be, just because of the very difficult nature of this the property. So I think I might be able to find some room there for that as well, but I'm still trying to get my head around that one, to be honest.
Okay. Let's move on to the next one. Section 264A and B, in terms of increasing the degree of non-conforming bulk from the existing non-conformity of 16.2 for the new section, which is going to be even greater than 16.2, but they're going up over the existing repair shop. So it's 16.2 with a one-story, you might want to call it. How high is that building now? About 15 feet?
15, 20 feet, somewhere in that
20
range.
feet?
Yeah.
And the addition's going to put it up to what?
34.75. So, and
75.
what's permitted is 35 feet. And I would note that's to the peak of the roof as well.
That's to the peak.
I believe so, correct?
It's a peak.
It's not to the eave, it's to the peak of the roof, yep.
Is it all the way to the peak or to the mean of the, between the eave and the peak?
Yeah, double check the plans, you have them. I believe it's to the peak.
Gable roof, right? Yeah. It is 34.9 feet to the peak. And the existing is 18 feet. So now you're increasing the height at the nonconformity of 16.2 feet. That's the nature of that variance, right?
It's the non-conforming rear yard and also front yard, because
Yeah.
that's the 18.9, I
Because you have
believe.
the 18.9 again.
So
yeah.
it's increasing upwards and sideways at those non-conforming front and rear.
All right, because the front is actually it's 29.3 feet to the existing building. The 18.9 is to the proposed addition.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's increasing that then.
Right. So the question is, putting another addition on the existing auto repair shop, is that going to create a detriment or a change in the character of the neighborhood because of the existing non-conforming conditions? The fact that you're putting another story on an existing non-conforming condition, is that going to change the character of the neighborhood or create any detriments for the surrounding properties?
So how high are some of the other existing properties?
The building across the street from us is like a two-story Victorian kind of colonial commercial building. That's at least 35 feet to the peak of the roof. Most dwellings, residential dwellings, are going to be anywhere between 25 and 35 feet.
But that house doesn't abut the Heritage Trail, though.
It does not.
Yeah, I mean, this facility, if viewed from the Heritage Trail side, rather looms over the trail. And we're talking about it becoming substantially taller. Now, I don't know if that's a no-go just for that reason, but it will be a rather tall building right on the trail. So I'm a little concerned about that.
I would note Orange County Planning, Orange County Department of Public Works, well aware, reviewed the plans, had no comment with visual impacts.
Yeah, for myself, I don't see it as an issue. I mean, they're only 9 feet deficient on an existing condition. And again, I don't think that second story is really going to have an impact on anybody. And the fact that the County of Orange did not seem fit to comment or object in any way to this building going up next to their park. And even though the property is abutting the Heritage Trail right-of-way, if you look at their map, the actual trail
It's not right there.
is not right next to the, it's right not next to the property. It's
That's a good point.
probably at least 50 feet from,
Oh,
I kind of doubt it.
maybe not 50.
I walk the trail a lot.
I mean,
30
just having
30
been there, I
feet.
think we know it's
30 to 40 feet, yeah.
I walk the trail a lot, and there are portions where there are residential houses very close to the trail, very, very close. And then you keep going, and then you get to a part where there's nothing but wilderness, and it's just part of the character of the trail. So I don't think.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And this is a commercial zone.
I have, I have several very, very large projects that are abutting the Heritage Trail.
Yeah.
We've actually gotten very little comment back from Orange County Planning on the impact that even those projects would have. They're requiring some screening, but I'm talking about massive projects.
Yeah.
So that would stretch for like thousands of feet. We're talking here about a property that abuts for about 100 to 150 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, for a small section.
Well, and as we know, we were discussing earlier, there will be properties with very minimal setbacks, and after all, this is a trail that has moved into this this spaces. So I suppose you've won me over that the increased height here is perhaps not a major issue.
I don't think it's very significant. All right, let's move on to the next one. Storage of vehicles in a required yard, which has to do with those, the area that they've set aside for their storage of up to 36 vehicles outdoors, which is going to encroach into the rear yard, the side yard, the front yard. But as Mr. Morgante indicated, there's a fence along the rear, 6 feet with slats that the county was fine with. And there is going to be a 10-foot wide landscape easement to the property to the south, to act as a buffer. Are there any plantings proposed?
Yeah, there's existing vegetation. So we've surveyed, you'll see that there are existing trees that are denoted with the diameter of the tree plus additional.
3 of them, yeah, 4 of them actually.
And then there's like shrubs and just whatever existing vegetation is there, which actually provides a fair amount of screening.
And the fence is going to go along that
Correct.
side as well. Is the fence going to be on your side too, where the existing, where you're proposing those 5 parking spaces, or that's going to be open?
Can you be more specific? I'm sorry.
The fence for this car storage area is only going along the rear where the Heritage Trail is and along the side where the residential is, so
That's correct.
it's not going to be like a C shape. It's not going to come up between the proposed 5 parking spaces to the south of the new addition.
The 5 parking spaces is where I'm losing you. Where are we specifically?
Come forward. Yeah. It's easier. Right here. These 5 parking spaces. The fence isn't going along here. It's just going to be here and here.
This is an open area so that we can circulate cars around. There's no fence right here.
Okay.
And plus, we can get garbage trucks, emergency vehicles. It needs to be open.
Okay.
So this whole area here is going.
Are you gonna create a driving lane, sort of? No.
There's no driving lane. But what I'm saying is that as this car comes out, that car can pull forward, that car can pull forward,
And then they can.
and then this guy can come back in. when he's
Okay.
done. So it's going to be like a parking lot attendant situation, which is what I'm trying to explain in the beginning.
Okay. So, which brings us back to the last one, which is the storage of more than 5 vehicles outside for more than 48 hours for minor auto repairs. And the applicant is looking for 10 to 15 cars for a maximum of 5 days.
I think that would be plenty adequate from what.
Pretty, it's triple the amount of cars and double 2.5 times the amount of time. So we got to think of the precedential value of that one. And
Well, the 10 to 15 cars are just for the repairs, though.
Right.
The just to be clear, the idea is that all 36 slots are likely to be filled at any given time.
Correct.
Right. And it's just that the expectation, or maybe even the agreement with this board, would be that the cars awaiting repair would be roughly 15. But, there would be 6 to 8 in impound and maybe 13 awaiting insurance, input. But assuming we come to some understanding, I kind of find it hard to figure how the building inspector, who is going to be responsible for upholding this, or enforcing this rather, is going to be able to tell which are the 15 cars that, are awaiting repair. Right?
And again, I think it's if there needs to be an enforcement of it, it's the insurance appraisal, which should be readily available, presented to the building inspector, can check it against the license plate, see that it's been allocated X amount of hours for repair. They should have on it, a date in or received, you follow what I'm saying, or a date the work commences and the date that work is completed. There could be the situation where it takes more than that time, but at least that insurance document will be the proof of the timing and the work that's required. So I do think there is some level of enforcement here that can be measured. I would also note it doesn't seem that there's really ever been complaints regarding how the site's been operating till to this date, no matter who the owner has been.
I would think that it was in their best interest too to encourage a.
Yeah,
They want to get cars. They don't want
It's a
cars
business,
parking in
yeah.
their space.
And I think the applicant can control it to a certain extent, because he can say, hey, listen,
Exactly.
I got 10 cars sitting here right now, I can't take you in. You
Right.
gotta come in,
Agreed.
Right.
Don't come till Tuesday,
Right.
because
Exactly.
I can't get you in.
Right.
Yeah. I guess I'm just a little worried about the developing the appearance of of a junkyard here, as we just have more and more cars accumulating in this area, because the capacity of this facility to process cars is increased, and
We have the same amount of cars. We now have more bays. We should be able to process the cars faster. That's the whole point.
yeah, but but as we discussed, that lot is going to be filled, and I'm a little concerned about the lot across the street too, because I understand that it's supposed to be for employee parking. I went by there the other day. I guarantee you the employees couldn't drive some of the cars that are in that lot now. They could not possibly be driven. So when I look at how that lot is being used now, understanding that there is a pending agreement here or even an understanding that it's to be used for employee parking, that didn't appear to be what was going on in there.
Which is why we're here before this board and this planning board to place conditions on this so that it can be.
They're borderline unenforceable conditions, because we all know
Correct.
our building department is not going to go out and request a manifest from anyone.
Correct.
So can we remove that from this application? It's kind of like the same argument. You know what I'm saying? So that's the holdup I have also, because I know for a fact you're extremely competent. This is the best application I've seen since I've been sitting here.
Thank you for that comment.
But I got to tell you, this is definitely, my concern is it's going to look like a junkyard.
Yeah.
Because I've seen this happen before. My family is in the auto body industry in Brooklyn, New York. It is a junkyard. Most of those cars are held for resale and then crushed. That's the game that's played.
Sure.
So let's at least be honest at that.
I'm not trying to be disingenuous.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
I will say that. I don't think any part of this application I've tried to be
Not
disingenuous.
at all.
Or,
That's
nor,
not what I'm trying to imply, but I'm just saying what the end result can look
Sure.
like is.
so enforceability, I mean, And I'm not saying, we're agreeing, it's not an easy thing, but again, if there are vehicles across the street that are in great disrepair, it should be obvious.
What I'm saying, and I don't mean to interrupt you, is please don't make me look bad if I approve it. You know what I'm saying? I really don't want to regret it.
I want to. I think that we should work towards some brighter lines here, so that there's just no question about what's going on. I think I might be inclined to vote for some of these variances, but I think we might want to add a condition that there cannot be vehicles in the leased lot that are not drivable.
That's already on the site plan, and that's a condition of the resolution of the planning board.
All right. Why would there be cars there now that are not drivable?
That I cannot answer. I can't answer that question, but I can tell you that it's enforceable once the plan's approved and we state that there's nothing that's allowed to be there.
If we don't vote in favor of the variance concerning the vehicles and the parking, where does that put your client? See, I'll tell you, as I said before, I'm a little concerned. Look, I have sympathy for the applicant and this very unusual property, and the I know a little bit about the history of this property, and it was set up not exactly according to village code, I think, and that's not the fault of the applicant. And the applicant's not at fault for the Heritage Trail having been extended, which we all enjoy. But nor is the applicant at fault for the rather restrictive nature. You've said that the 5 cars is, and Mr. Deutsch has said the 5 cars is just unmanageable. And it's, I think, not my position as a zoning board member to comment on what the legislature has said about, how many cars a repair facility should have. But I'll just quote you guys as saying that that's been stated as being unmanageable. And I think there is some justification for saying that maybe this could get looked at, but I'm a little concerned about the zoning board rewriting this part of village code, because that's not really the function of a zoning board, and it would be, I think, better if instead of our coming to some understanding for a particular business, auto repair business, that if there's a problem, that it be dealt with by the legislative body to come up with something that makes sense for this applicant, for some of the other automotive repair facilities, so that everybody has a standard that they have to live to that is in common across everybody in the same business. So I'm really
well. But then again, I don't know that there's a one-size-fits-all for this.
That may be true too,
because each site is very unique. This maybe being one of the more unique sites you've seen. So for the village to say 10, 15, 20, 30, it would really be subject to the site, and I think it really should be something that the village considers recrafting to put language together that allows the planning board to go through a planning process for each individual site to determine what that number is and what those timeframes are. I don't think you can have a one-size-fits-all for this. So I do think that I think that you're acting right now because the planning board cannot. It's not in their jurisdiction the way the code is written, and you can. But I think the village should recraft that code such that the power goes back to the planning board and allows them to consider it.
But I tend to think that I understand that the Heritage Trail was extended after the property was built, but given the fact that the property is so close to the Heritage Trail, I think the applicant has to be sensitive to the fact that the community doesn't want something looking like a junkyard 50 feet away from the Heritage Trail. I mean, I just think, anecdotally speaking, I haven't surveyed the whole community, but I would assume, having grown up near junkyards, that if you just stack up a bunch of cars that are, you know, need repair, whatever the case may be, and they just happen to be there for an extended period of time, whatever that period of time is, right? I think the majority of the people look at that property as, oh, it's not a property that cars are flowing in and out. It's just it's become like a de facto parking lot, junkyard, whatever you want to call it. So I think the applicant has to be sensitive to that reality, that because he is near the Heritage Trail, he may want to reconsider if he needs that many cars, that many slots, because we're throwing around numbers 5, 36, 15, 13, and then there may be an additional spots across the street. So I think he really needs to hammer that down, maybe not specifically, because I think that's not fair to him, but I think there needs to be, I think John mentioned, like, the railings need to be a little bit more clear.
Well,
Because of everything that we've talked about, I can only speak for myself, this parking lot car storage is an issue, at least for me.
sure. So one thing we didn't actually discuss, it just kind of popped into my mind now. Correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just trying to visualize this. If you're on the Heritage Trail, you're at a lower elevation. You're at it's at least 5 feet lower, maybe more, with a 6-foot fence. You can't see the cars from the Heritage Trail. You're not going to see these cars, not with a 6-foot fence, not with privacy slats. So I don't know that the distance to the Heritage Trail and the visual impact it has, number one, is going to be really what we're concerned about because of what I just said. Number two, Orange County doesn't seem to be concerned about it. I do think the issue is from the front because that's not a screened area. So I think that really needs to be our focus. And I think that we're in a predominantly right next to us on either side, a more commercialized area. So we're not impacting nearby residences as much with the fact that this looks like a junkyard. It's been operating, I've been in Monroe since 2000. As far as I know, this has been here since 2000. It's operated this way since 2000. So it's not a situation where this community doesn't know it's there, hasn't seen it there, hasn't seen it operating like this, and it's honestly probably been in worse condition because the parking lot's been recently repaved and improved in some of those areas. So I think what we're trying to add bays so we can process cars faster, so they don't sit in the parking lot as long. That's really, really what's going on with this whole application. I think what we're looking to do is just come up with a reasonable number and a reasonable time frame for these cars. Again, it's been operating this way.
Let me make a comment. Is there a way? What? You're gonna have to go soon, okay. We may have to adjourn this over. But is there a way that we can separate the cars that are gonna be there for the shorter period of time for minor repairs?
That's a good point.
Versus the cars that are gonna be stored for up to a maximum of 60 days and fence it off so that when somebody drives by on Elm Street, they're not just looking at a sea of cars that are there, that there's going to be a reasonable number of cars that may be visible from the street. Everything else is going to be hidden.
So the problem I'm going to tell you, I think the cars that are going to be in, that are going to require less time for repair are certainly going to be the ones that are in the front because they're going to be circulated in and out faster. The problem is I can't put a fence up separating the front to the back because I need to get the cars behind the ones that are going to be serviced more quickly out the same way. So I have a circulation issue. Otherwise, Mr. Chairman, that's an outstanding idea, but I don't think it's practical, unfortunately, on our side.
I don't think so. The site is always full with cars. I don't think so there's junkyard cars, because I had the discussion with the owner about it. He never have cars more than 45 days, even waiting for the insurance, maybe 1 or 2 cars. He's trying to keep the property clean, and he's not looking for the variance of the 5 versus, because and it was with the planning board, it was not this, every application has every auto body shop has a problem here in Village of Monroe to comply with the 5 cars. That's why he's asking for the variance of more. It's not meaning that it's going to have more cars, more junkyard. He's trying to, there is time that the parking is 50% empty. But it's just the idea for the code that you can only have 5 cars, which is impossible to comply. And I have no problem if you want to do it 12 cars. I think so you can work with them, because he's very quick getting in, and like there's time that he's sending cars away because he didn't have the place for that to do it. So
I'll go.
Wait, hold on one second. John, when do you have to leave?
Probably in about 5 minutes or so.
5 minutes. One of our members has to go. He's got a commitment. I'm thinking that maybe we should adjourn this, or vote on this, to the next meeting. We'll have time to contemplate it. If any of the members want to take a drive past and, you know, take another visual observation after today's hearing based upon everything that we've heard. And then we can come back and finish our deliberations at next month's meeting.
I like that idea.
You like that idea?
Yeah.
Everybody good with that?
7 variances is a lot for us in one go, so I think maybe.
It sounds like we worked through them except for this one, and we might need a little time to contemplate.
Yeah.
Like, I know you said you can't put a fence in the front yard. Is there any way you would be able to put landscaping in front of that parking area, or no?
So, yeah, we discussed that with the planning board. The problem is the edge of the pavement is right there. So if we put plantings, the first time a truck comes around and plows and the salt gets into the planting beds, the plantings won't last a season.
No.
Plus,
Why?
your ability to circulate cars.
Oh, okay.
And for security reasons, I don't know that we want to actually, for
To
vehicle
make-
security reasons, we don't necessarily want to screen the front either.
Make the most of
Like
our
if someone
final
comes and steals the car or
minutes.
something like that.
Why don't they want a fence on the front of the property? Because if we take your point that what we want is to control the sightliness of the operation, one could imagine fencing it in front as well as on the back. Why did they not?
For the same reasons. If I put any kind of fencing in the front and the fence is literally on the edge of the pavement for the village road, the first snowstorm that we plow, I made a prediction to the planning board that our curbing won't last one season. Because as the truck comes around the turn and you've got more than 6 inches of snow, you're not going to see where that curb is. So that truck's going to hit that curb when it's plowing. So that curb's going to constantly be replaced by the applicant. Now you put a fence there. They're going to push the fence over. They're going to plow snow up against the fence.
The visual sign is where not to go.
Yeah, I think the fence might actually help you preserve your curb.
I don't know about that. I
Well,
don't,
if you can see where the fence is and you know where the curb is relative to the fence, then you know not to get so close to the fence.
but that's going to require them to not plow the full extent of their paved travel way, and the village cannot do that.
Well, they're not intended to plow on your curbing, are they?
Oh, they're going to plow to the edge of it.
Right.
That's the travel
Yeah,
way.
but they'll know where the edge is because they know where that is relative to the fence, if there were one.
No, but if I'm within a foot or two of the fence, I'm going to plow snow up against the fence.
Right.
If I plow snow up against the fence, I'm going to damage that fence. Think about that repeatedly over the course of a winter season. It's going to cause issues with the fence. It's going to,
Just a pushing.
correct.
I think that you get the physical pressure against a fence.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Let's do this. Let's do this. At this point, I'm gonna make a motion that we adjourn this application and deliberations to our meeting on May 13th. I'll encourage the board members to do a drive-by, do an inspection of the site, and think about it, and then we can come back next month and finish our deliberations.
Sounds good.
Okay, do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Jim first. He beat you to it. All
Okay.
in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, so this matter is adjourned till May 13th to complete our deliberations. And we'll see you then.
Yes, have a good night. Thank you very much for the time you provided me tonight. I appreciate the discussion.
See you, Michael. Okay. That was a good one. All right.
It still is.
Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes from March 11th, 2025.
Okay, thanks, John.
Appreciate it.
bye-bye, we'll see you next month, right?
Need you again next month.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you. So on the March minutes, the only
Yes, you can.
comments here is where we had the approval of the February 11th, 2025 minutes. You say seconded by member Gilstrap. Then you said all in favor. You really shouldn't say all in favor, say 4-0, and abstained by member Doherty due to absence.
With
Correct abstain.
abstain with an A. I think abstain with a B might be abstaining obstinately. I'm not sure. But I think we got to go with abstain.
And then on the old business, I don't think we took a formal vote, so you can probably just take out seconded by member Gilstrap, all in favor.
Oh. Thank you.
And the same thing for the next paragraph, where you have seconded by member Gilstrap, all in favor, because there was really no vote, it was just a discussion. So other than that, I had no other comments.
No, I didn't have anything apart from the spelling thing.
Okay.
Anybody else? Okay, so I move that we accept the March 11th, 2025 minutes as amended.
Seconded.
Seconded by John, all in favor, 4-0, show Mr. Benrose has left and didn't vote. Approved, 4-0. Benrose left, did not vote. Okay, next item on the agenda is decide the meeting for our November meeting. I had Christine look into the dates that the room is available, and it looks like it's really only available on the 13th, which is a Thursday, and then the following Thursday on the 20th. So it looks like those are our limited availabilities. I know I will not be available most likely on the second or third Thursday, because I normally have meetings in other municipalities that night. So if we go with those dates, I won't be there. But there's lots of dates in November where I won't be able to make it. So I think if those dates are good for the rest of the board members, maybe we just go with that date. And if I can't make it, I can't make it, and you'll.
So we're talking the 13th or the 18th, like it's
the 13th or the 20th.
The 13th or the 20th.
Right.
Okay, we've got something else in the agenda. All right, 13th or 20th. Well, I mean, I don't have any information about which of those is going to work better for me. Anybody have any preference between those?
Preference at all. I go with whatever is closest to what.
I think I was thinking the same. So shall we just?
So I
Make the 13th.
would have a conflict on the 13th. Kelly does as well.
Okay.
Well, that's good enough for us then.
How about you, the 20th?
I think the 20th should work for me. Would it be at 8 o'clock?
Yes.
I think the 20th should
Which
work.
is the third
Third
Thursday of the month.
That should work. I thought the 18th was was in the running too, but the 20th.
No, the 18th, well, we did look at the 18th, but the Board of Trustees has a meeting on the 18th, so
Okay.
I can't do it that.
Well, let's grab the 20th then.
Okay, you guys are good with that? Yep. Okay. So then I move that we make the meeting for November, on November 20th at 8 PM. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Gilstrap, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so this meeting will now be the 20th, 11/20. Okay, and the next item is new business, no new applications, I'm assuming? Okay, so we have nothing new.
Well,
What was going on with Gray Barn? Are they coming in for a variance, or they just wanted some information?
It was something from so many years ago, they were looking for a copy of it. I think they're working with the planning board on making some changes, but that's all I know.
I heard they're gonna try and change that into like a venue, an entertainment venue.
Oh,
You know, clear out an area in the back and do like the Apex does, maybe
so
have some live music.
in
Yeah, I don't know.
combination with what they're doing, or in
No, I think independently.
instead of the what they're doing? Is that
No,
what
no,
they're doing?
no. Oh, no, they're gonna keep what they're doing.
I see.
So it's gonna
It's
be.
a huge space.
Yeah, it's a huge space, so, I'm not exactly sure what they're, but I
see.
heard that that's what they wanna try to bring.
Okay.
That type of, like all these, breweries and wineries
Yeah.
and vineyards, and they all bring in the entertainment and
Okay.
bring some live music, and
Good on them.
maybe they'll go get a license and serve wine and beer.
Yeah.
Apex, fight with Apex over who's,
I think there is a little
there's a little
already,
competition.
yeah, already not.
All right. Well, I've got a item of new business for us
Okay,
that concerns our email struggle.
okay,
So we have been talking about, finding email addresses that we can use for correspondence with applicants. We did get email addresses through the village. However, those email addresses, it turns out, are the Microsoft Exchange addresses, and that they use, Microsoft Exchange uses proprietary protocols. You basically have to have Microsoft Outlook or something similar to use such an email address.
right,
I myself do not use Outlook on my personal machine, so this email address doesn't work.
because you have to
For me.
constantly check it separately.
The only way I can check it is that the Gmail app on my phone happens to be able to connect to a Microsoft Exchange account, but I have to look at it separately. It's like a separate mailbox, and that only applies to the app on the phone. If you look at it through your Gmail webmail in your browser, you cannot connect to that kind of address, which means I can't really use it for typing. I cannot really manage files because this is all happening on my phone. So in other words, for me at least, this kind of email address will not work. This puts us in a difficult spot, but I don't see how this kind of email account, the village is getting charged for it. I can't use it. I think it should be shut down. It just won't work.
Okay.
But that leaves us in a spot where we need some kind of alternative solution. Now, John, I wish John had been able to stay with us for this little discussion, had suggested that maybe we create accounts on Gmail. Now, we could do that if that worked for everybody, and it puts us in no worse off than using our personal email addresses, which the village has no visibility into, but would separate our zoning board work from our personal stuff.
Right, so I guess if you individually say, you know what, instead of using my the current email that we use, if you make a new email and say, use this for me, it's no different. It's not endorsed, it's not condoned, but it's not the village email. It's no different than what we're doing right now.
Precisely.
We're sending it to a different Gmail, so.
Right. So we
I've
wanted to do,
incorporated fine with
better,
mine, yeah.
but we tried it, we couldn't.
Right.
We wanted to give the village, some visibility there. The technology they use won't work, I think, for a volunteer board like ours. So I think we're going to have to do it as we've just described. So I will create something which I will make you guys aware of that can be used for the kind of review that we do. And then I think we could engage with the question of what does the rest of the board, want to do, if anything, to separate zoning board work from their personal, correspondence. And maybe we can come up with some kind of naming convention for the accounts that would make it clear to anybody who happens to come across those. I think that the rest of the board should not have their email addresses exposed to the public anyway. But we could come up with some kind of naming convention that you could use if you wanted to create an email account of the sort that I'm talking about.
Right. I mean, as a general rule, we're not, when we communicate with board members, it's, the public is not on that
Yeah, exactly.
link.
Yeah.
I communicate with the public,
Right.
and I use my professional email, but since I have the ZBA chairman email now, I've incorporated that, works fine with my Outlook.
Right.
I can see whenever I get an email pops up on my screen, and I know to check it.
Yeah.
So it's worked for me, so I'm gonna continue to do that. I did not speak to the mayor about additional email addresses at villageofmonroe.org for the rest of the board members. Is that something that you're all still interested in?
I'd love to have it, yeah.
Okay, so I will go back, because I didn't have a chance to do that.
But if you do that, you got to use it with Microsoft Outlook. That's
And that's fine
that's
by
the
me.
lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, so that works for you.
So, and then if anybody wants to just create a new Gmail account and give that to Christine as the new email contact.
I'll do that.
That's fine, otherwise they can continue to get the email like they're getting now on their personal emails.
So then maybe when you talk to whoever it is, the mayor or whoever, about adding addresses for folks that want them, would you let them know that I won't be using that?
I'll tell them to cancel it.
Yeah, and they may as well cancel it.
Okay.
Yeah, because let's not be paying $4 a month for that, because it's, and moreover, I think it must be canceled, because we don't want anybody to get a hold of it and think that they're communicating with me when in fact I will not see that. So that's very important.
Okay. You got that? We'll discuss that during the week, okay?
Absolutely.
All right, anything else? Okay, I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, show us adjourned at 10:32.
That's got to be the record.
That's a record.